how we can shift it in order to become more inclusive. So we'll take some time for questions and answers at the end of this speech, but I'll pass it over, or pass the puck over to Brock now to take it forward. Oh, you're right, sorry.
I think these are good background. How's it going? Good. So my name is Brock McGillis. I was a former hockey player. I didn't do my job there professionally. After retiring, I started working with athletes. I worked with about 100 hockey players daily for a few years. And now I've come out as the first openly gay male professional hockey player. I'd like to share my story with you today, and then I'd like to talk about how we can all create shifts in our environment, shifts in our language, and what we can do to create a social change in this world. I remember being 6 years old and watching a movie with my parents, and there was a gay character. And I looked at them and I said, what if I'm gay? And they said, if you're gay, you're gay. You're wrong. We love you. I remember going to my room and crying. Growing up, I was your stereotypical Canadian boy. I played hockey. I was never off the ice. I spent my entire life essentially on the ice surface. And as I grew a little older and started playing junior, AAA and junior, I became what would be known as a stereotypical hockey player. I thought I was sweet. Back the way I look at it now is I saw myself as God's gift to the world. I walked into a room like I owned the place. I just thought I was so awesome. I'm ashamed to admit it now that I was a womanizer. And other people, because of all this, as I'd go to malls and sign autographs and I'd date all these women, thought I had this sweet life as well. But what they didn't know is, as I got into junior and as my major junior, is that I hated myself. I hated myself on a daily basis to the point that I'd drop my friends off at night or girlfriend or whoever, and I'd go home and I'd cry. Most days, in fact, every day, I wanted to die. And it was all due to the language I heard. That's gay, you're fey. Terms like that were so commonly used in the locker room, so commonly used in school, that I just felt like I couldn't be myself. I felt like I couldn't be gay and also be a hockey player. So I hid it. I hid it for many years. And through the struggle, I became addicted to alcohol. I drank every day from the age of 16 till about 23. I was suicidal. On a number of occasions, I tried to kill myself. It was all due to this. And while people thought I had this phenomenal life, I was really struggling. Beyond the surface, I was really struggling. As I got a little older, finally at 23, I was living in Europe, and my hockey career derailed. I was supposed to be in the NHL, I was projected to be an NHL draft pick, I was on the draft list and all these things, but I was constantly hurt. I had an injury every year, season-ending injury, every year from the age of 15 until about 27. But at 23, I was living in Europe, and I sat myself down. I said, okay, you need to figure this out. You need to figure out who you are, because things aren't going well. My career was derailing. I was constantly hurt. I was an alcoholic. And I was suicidal, very depressed. So I decided after that season to figure out who I was. And I went on a date with a guy when I went back to Toronto. In fact, I ended up dating him for 3 years. And have you been in a 3-year relationship? Yeah, probably a baby, maybe. 3 years is a very long time in your early 20s. 3 years is exceptionally long when nobody in your life knows. I was so relieved when I figured out that I was gay. When I finally accepted it for myself, I was like, okay, I'm gay, everything's gonna get back on track, my career's going to, get going again, I'm going to make the NHL, and life's going to be good. But in fact, it got worse. Because now not only was I gay in this hyper-masculine hockey world, this macho pro where you had to act tough and be this tough guy and walk a certain way, talk a certain way, but now I had to really hide who I was. And now I also had to hide another person. Because although I recognized I was gay, I was still in the closet. So I hid my partner. I hid him for 3 years. Not a soul, not my parents, not my brother, nobody mattered. As you can imagine, our relationship ended. Shortly thereafter, I decided to take a step back from professional hockey. And I moved to Montreal. I went to Concordia. And I decided to play on the hockey team and pursue my education. And I, again, was closeted, still struggling, dealing with a breakup. Because the only thing worse than a breakup is not having anyone to talk to about breakup. So now I'm sitting here all alone in Montreal. And by the way, Montreal's like my favorite city in the world. I adore this place. I was sitting here and I had nobody. I had all these friends around me, but I felt like I had nobody left. And I was grieving the loss. Then one day I was watching a hockey game on TSN. It was a Leafs game. I know. I was watching the Leafs game, and between periods there was this young guy being interviewed. And this interview was a little different than most, typically when you see a hockey interview, it's pucks in deep, we got a backtrack harder, all these these taglines they have. But this was a young guy who was talking about following in his father's footsteps and becoming a general manager in the NHL. And this person's name was Brendan Burke. And Brendan is the son of Brian Burke. Brian, at the time, was the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and now works for Sportsnet and does hockey coverage. Brendan, in the midst of the interview, shared that he was gay. And I wasn't really paying attention until that happened, and then my ears perked up because I had never heard anyone in the hockey world say that word unless they were putting somebody down. So I heard this and I went, holy jeez, what just happened here? Like, my mind was blown. The hockey world's a very small place. So I reached out to her. We had some beautiful friends and I got in contact with them, and I ended up coming out to her. And it was such a relief. I finally had somebody in my life who I could talk to about being gay. I had somebody I could talk to about this relationship that just ended. I had somebody that I could talk to about hockey and who understood my duality as this like macho hockey bro and also this gay man. And I think it was also good for him because now he had somebody he could talk to. He was the first person in hockey to come out as gay. So he was, thrust into the media spotlight, and his dad is very famous, so he had a lot of attention. So he had somebody who understood him as well. Brandon and I were talking almost every day. Then one day he sent me a text message, and it was very different than any other message I'd ever received. It was a little shocking when I saw the text. It just said, I can't wait for the day that you're out to your family like I am tonight. I saw this message, and I'm pretty sure I threw my phone across the room and just went, I'm not dealing with that. And it wasn't because I didn't think my family would be inclusive and supportive. In fact, I knew they would be. I knew from the age of 6. But they were so involved in hockey. My father coached junior hockey and scouted in major junior hockey for over 30 years. My brother was a first round pick in the OHL. He played professionally, and I just feared that if they heard the language that took place in the locker room, or in my brother's case at school, they would stand up to it now. They'd become more sensitive to it because of me. And in turn, they'd stand up to it and ultimately, potentially, out me in the process. And I feared because I had all these injuries and depression and I was suicidal throughout time and different things that I had like one last shot at making it at hockey. And if anyone knew and they stood up to it and accidentally outed me, I feared that it would jeopardize that opportunity for me. So I didn't answer Brendan. I ignored the message. As it turned out, that was the last message Brendan ever sent to me. 2 days later, Brendan died in a car accident. So there I was sitting in Montreal, sitting here, and I'm still grieving the loss of the first person I ever loved. And now my only friend who knows my life just passed away. At that point, I knew I had to tell someone. I couldn't keep living like this. So I sat my brother down. And my brother is the epitome of a hypermasculine hockey bro. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. He fought, scored goals. He was a power forward. And I sat him down one night and I said, "Corey, I'm gay." And he said, "Yeah, so." And I'm like, "Really? That's it? That's all I got? Part my heart out here. Can you give me something?" And he's like, "You're Brock. I love you." Shortly thereafter, I told my parents and some of my close friends. Except I didn't tell anyone in hockey. I was still afraid. I was still afraid of the stigmas. I was still afraid of being in this macho environment and what would happen, and if it would jeopardize any opportunity I had in the game, and also if I would lose friends. So I hid it. And after I retired, I started working with athletes. I'm originally from a mining town. I'm from Sudbury, Ontario. And I moved back up there to finish my degree, and I started working with hockey players up there, mentoring, coaching, training. And I feared that if they knew I was gay, or if the parents knew I was gay, because there isn't much exposure to diversity at all in Sudbury, I feared that they wouldn't want their children, parents wouldn't want their children working with me. So I hid it for a lot of years. So one day I got a phone call from a hockey mom. And hockey parents are a unique breed of human. They are special. Oh, geez, they're special. I'm going to write a book someday just on hockey parents. Because I had about 100 hockey players I dealt with daily for 5-6 years. And I would get a call almost every day from one of the two parents of each child. And some of the calls, they would start about 6 a.m. and they would run until about 2 in the morning. So you can imagine. This call, a little different though. This mother calls me and says, "Brock, I want to set you up on a date." And I'm like, "Oh no." What am I going to say? How am I going to get out of this? Like, do I lie and say I'm in a relationship? Like, what do I do here? And I thought, I'm kind of wondering what she thinks my type is. So I'm like, all right, I'll roll with that a little bit. So I asked her, I said, "What's her name?" And she says, "Steve." I said, "What did you say?" And she said, "His name's Steve." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Brock, you're gay." I'm like, "What?" And at this point, she's getting a little frustrated with me, and because I'm in shock, but she thinks I'm playing dumb. And she looks at me and she's like, or she she's on the other end of the phone, and she's like, "Brock, you're gay, Brock!" And she's like shouting it at me, and I'm like, "How do you know this?" Like, I'm just baffled, right? And she says, "Oh, my son told me." Her son was about 15 at the time. She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, how does he know? And she's like, "Oh, he's known for years. All the boys who work with now." And my heart just sinks, and I panic, and then my heart starts racing, and I'm sweating, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, these kids aren't going to want to work with me anymore. Their parents aren't going to want to work with me. They don't know, and I'm having these illogical fears and this panic, and I'm like, they're going to go elsewhere. This is how I pay my rent. This is how I pay for school. Like, what am I going to do without this? I have to find a new job, and I'm just panicked. And I was still on the phone with this woman, and it was dead silence for about 10 minutes. And I thought about it, and I said, wait, I'm in Northern Ontario, and I'm working with these cocky, hyper-masculine hockey pros who think they're God's gift to the world. And they know I'm gay, and they choose to work with me. How cool is that? How cool is that? So then at that point I thought, well, maybe I should just come. Maybe I should just do it. Like, they know, so I might as well just tell them, right? Thought, or instead of coming out, maybe I'll do a little sociology experiment. Start observing their behaviors, because they know I'm gay, but they don't know that I know that they know that I'm gay. So I thought, well, I can start observing their language, their behaviors, how they act around me, the language they use around me, and then I could just see, and I can just start watching. And with my athletes, I always tried to curb racist, sexist, and homophobic language. Those were 3 sticklers for me. I don't tolerate, and I don't want to hear it, and I don't want to see any of those behaviors. Just keep it away from me. But I started to notice that anytime they'd say something homophobic or, an off-the-cuff remark, they would freeze up right away, and they would look at me and go, "I'm so sorry, Rock, I'm sorry." And I was just kind of nod, shrug my shoulders, and be like, "It's okay." I started thinking, wow, maybe I'm having an impact here. Maybe I'm creating a shift. They're apologizing to me when, they say these things. Maybe a shift is happening, because hockey is very insular. Hockey is sort of like a corporation. It's a bubble, right? And you're within that bubble throughout your work day. They're in that bubble all the time. So I have this little bubble, this tiny bubble within the bubble of hockey, and I'm thinking, well, maybe a shift is happening. But then I thought, or maybe they just like me, and I'm gay, so they apologize to me, but they go to school or go out to parties or wherever, nightclubs, and they're like calling people fags. And really, I had no idea. I had no idea whether they were or weren't. But not long after that, I got a phone call from somebody who was working with me. He's a sprint coach I had working with my athletes on a track. Is there a fire? We need to evacuate. Is that my hook? But I got a phone call from my sprint coach who works with my athletes, and that day he had them, and I wasn't there, but he had them doing like a 2-hour workout, and at the end he told them they had 10 more 200-meter sprints. And one of my athletes, a young kid who comes from an incredibly progressive background, his parents are friends of mine, his father, every time he sees me, gives me a hug and tells me he's walking behind me in this journey I'm on. His mother's a dear friend of mine, super inclusive. In fact, the F word you couldn't say growing up in this household was fed. This young player looks at the spring coach and goes, "This is so gay, I can't believe you're making us do this." And one of my older players, who didn't grow up in the same type of inclusive environment, who was in the OHL and had been in the hockey culture longer, looked at him and said, "We don't say that here. Give me 50 push-ups." And the other player sat there and said, "You know what, you're right." And he did 50 push-ups. I wasn't even present. And I was so encouraged by this, and actually this is something that my athletes began to adopt, that anytime they would use homophobic language. And because they are influencers and in the community, but also they have the ability, and we all do, to shift our environments. They took it to their peer groups at school, to their hockey teams, in different places, and kind of made that a challenge amongst their friends. In fact, there's this story they told me later on about this hockey player that I never even met. He was 15 years old, and he was on FaceTime one night with a young woman, and she said to him, she's like, "Let's hang out tonight." And he said, "No, I'm sorry, I can't, I have practice." And she said, "Oh, that's so gay, I can't believe you won't hang out with me." And he looked at her and said, "Give me 50 push-ups right now, or I'm never talking to you again." And she got down and did 50 push-ups on FaceTime. These are people I've never met, they're not even in my circle, I have no idea, and that's the shifts that can happen. So after hearing all this, I knew at that point I should come up. I knew I should come up publicly and share my story, and it was time. But I had been programmed, because I grew up in that hypermasculine macho environment, that I was afraid. I thought it was bad or wrong still. I was very scared. So I hid it. I continued to hide it, and I continued to live in fear. But then a few things happened that gave me the kick in the butt I needed. Hockey Association, and I worked with a lot of their athletes, blackballed me. They found out about my sexuality, and some of my competitors were outing me, and they wouldn't let me work with their athletes. After I grew up playing in the association, I coached in it, my father and brother coached in it, my brother played in it. They just told me, "We don't need your services anymore." Out of nowhere, I was the only one they stopped allowing to work. Right as that season ended, there was an incident in Orlando at Pulse nightclub. I'm not sure if any of you know, there's 49 people murdered. It was a massacre for being gay, for being part of, or being queer, being part of the LGBTQ plus community. And for my community, those nightclubs are safe spaces. Because the reality is, whether we're in Montreal, Toronto, Sudbury, or different parts of the world, and this is, the progressive countries, if two men are walking down the street holding hands, they may still be called names today. In major centers, let alone in more rural areas. And they may be threatened with, same with two women, or the trans community even more so. They may be threatened with physical violence, and there's still fear associated with that. But these nightclubs, these are places where they can go and be themselves, and love who they love, and not have that judgment, not have that fear associated with going out or kissing who you want to kiss and being who you are. So it really upset me when this happened. It really upset, it hit me really deep. And the reality is, this was somewhere, I have friends in Florida. This could have been my friends. This could have been me and my friends in Toronto, or, people in the village here. And it was a gut punch, because these are inclusive areas. This isn't, I had somebody reach out to me in the past 6 months from a country where it's illegal to be gay. And his best friend started the first LGBT newsletter over there. He was found by government and decapitated. 6 months ago. That's why this matters. You know, but that shouldn't happen over here because we are more progressive and we are the leaders in that and we are showing the rest of the world how to treat people. But when it happens here, then it sets everything else back. So it really stung, really hurt. And actually, less than a week later, my best friend, or one of my close friends, was running Toronto Pride at the time. And we were supposed to go to a charity event together. And he called me, so the Pulse incident happened on Saturday, I believe. He called me on the Wednesday. And he said, "Brock, I don't think you should come with me." And I'm like, "Well, it's kind of mean, like I really wanted to go." And he's like, "Brock, I just got a call from the RCMP and I'm on an ISIS hit list." I said, "What?" I said, "You're lying to me." He's like, "No, really, they have a picture of me." It was the first year that in Toronto they had done Pride Month as opposed to Pride Week, and he was pretty visible in the news that month and in the media, and he ended up on an ISIS hit list. So I asked him, I said, "Well, are you going?" He goes, "Yeah, I have to. They want me there. I have to go." I said, "Well, I'm coming with you. I'm not letting you go alone, and we're not being scared of our community." So that Friday night, we got into an Uber, and we looked at each other, and we thought, we're going to die tonight. To go to a charity event. We ended up going to this event. There was undercover RCMP officers and police everywhere. And it's the first charity event I've ever gone to where they had the wand out, and they were like a metal detector wand, and they were patting people down, and I was mind-boggled. And I spent that whole night in fear looking around, wondering if, when, how. In that moment, I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to stand up and do something. So the next morning, I contacted a friend of mine who's a journalist. At the time, she was working for Yahoo Sports. And I said, "I'm coming out public. Do you want me to do this through you?" And she said, "Yes, let's do this." So I wrote an article for Yahoo Sports, sharing my story and coming out. And I thought maybe I would help a couple kids. At the very least, I'd empower myself and take back my power from those who were, you know, alienating me and different things, and just own my life. That day, I received over 10,000 messages from people all over the world. 99% of them were positive messages, and it was pretty encouraging. From there, I started speaking at schools, and then events, and then corporations, and now I'm traveling across North America and all over, trying to create a shift, trying to evolve things to where we can get. And I've had some realizations along the way. And what I've realized is we all have the ability to create shifts. We all do. It's not just, you know, people who are out there on the front lines, but we all do. We all do in our environments. I had no idea I was creating shifts with those kids without even knowing, without even being out. And yet that created a shift in them, in their language, the way they treated other people. And then that hockey player who stood up that one day and said, "We don't talk like that here," created a shift in me and gave me the ability and empowered me to say, "Okay, you can do this. You can come out and you can create shifts." And it's just some kid in Sudbury, Ontario. And I think we all have the ability to do that. And there's two main ways that I see that we can do this. The first one is through language, the language we use. Language is vital, language is very important, and I think we don't understand how important it is. I hated myself and I wanted to die almost every day based off the language I heard. I tried to commit suicide just online because I was never bullied.